I think we've got 20 participants, but with some time, I'd be happy to start. Okay. Thank you, Emily, for facilitating participants to join the webinar, and welcome to briefing of 17th meeting of the POPs Review Committee. If I can move my presentation. Okay. Right. So I'll start my presentation on to provide you with of the meeting that took place in January. It was the 17th meeting of the committee. It was held from 24 to 28 January 2022 in Geneva. It was a face-to-face meeting with the possibility to join the meeting online. Prior to this, 2 days pre-meetings were held December 2021 to take up all the technical items of the meeting. It was chaired by interim chair Mr. Peter Dawson from New Zealand, and we had 251 participants in total. Of the 31 members, 29 members were able to attend, and there were 222 observers. The committee adopted 10 decisions on the chemicals under review and other technical work. And in order to implement the intersessional work, we agreed on work plan of those intersessional working groups. As a follow-up to the meeting, a letter was sent to parties and observers inviting information related to those chemicals under review. So let's take a look at the chemicals that were considered in a little bit more detail. The first substance here is methoxychlor. This is a pesticide that is very similar to DDT, an organochlorine pesticide, and was nominated by European Union in 2019 for listing under the convention. The committee had already reviewed the proposal against Annex D and prepared the risk profile at the previous meeting. So at the POPRC 17 meeting, the committee considered the risk management evaluation, which identified whether there are available alternatives, what are the implications of control measures, and based on that assessment, the committee made recommendation to the Conference of Parties that it should consider listing it in Annex A without specific exemptions. So the risk management evaluation adopted by committee, available as POPRC 17/13/add1, which will be made available on the website of the convention alongside the draft, alongside the report of the meeting. The recommendation for listing methoxychlor will be considered by the Conference of the Parties at its 11th meeting in 2023. This will not be the agenda for the face-to-face segment of the Conference of Parties scheduled in June 2022, but it will be considered at 2023 meeting. The second chemical, Decloran Plus, is flame retardant designated by Norway for listing under the convention. And Decloran Plus risk profile was already considered at POPRC 16, but the committee was unable to take the decision on the risk profile at that meeting due to the inconclusive consideration on adverse effects of this substance. During the intersessional period between POPRC 16 and 17, further information on adverse effects of Decloran Plus was collected, and the draft risk profile was revised. The committee considered the revised draft risk profile at the 17th meeting and decided that it is likely, as a result of their long-range environmental transport, to lead to significant adverse human health and environmental effects such that global action is warranted. And then the committee established an intersessional working group to prepare draft risk management evaluation, and invited information on Annex F by March 14. The third substance is UV328. This is the observer used in many products such as transparent plastics, coatings, personal care products, and ink additives. The substance was nominated by Switzerland in 2021 for listing, and the committee considered the proposal against Annex D at POPRC 16. During the intersessional period, draft risk profile was developed and it was considered at the 17th meeting. And the committee was able to decide that it is likely as a result of their long-range environmental transport to lead to significant adverse human health and environmental effects, such that global action is warranted, and adopted the risk profile. Same as Declaram Plus, the committee established an intersessional working group to prepare draft risk management evaluation and invited information specified in Annex F related to socioeconomic consideration by 14 March 2020. Another chemical considered was chlorpyrifos. This is a pesticide that was nominated by the European Union, and it was considered for the first time by the committee. Similar to methoxychlor, this is this is different from methoxychlor. This is an organophosphate pesticide, and it's been banned in a few countries, but had several considerations that chlorpyrifos, whether the proposal met the Annex D screening criteria or not. And after the consideration, the committee was able to decide that the proposal fulfilled all the screening criteria in Annex D, that it established an intersessional working group to prepare a draft risk profile in accordance with Annex E to the Convention. So for this substance, information specified in Annex E invited until March 2020. Another substance that was newly nominated by a party for consideration by the committee, chlorinated paraffins. It's a little bit a long name, but it's chlorinated paraffins with carbon chain length in the range 14 to 17 and chlorination levels at or exceeding 45% chlorine by weight. The proposal was submitted by the UK, and it has several applications as listed in this slide. Having reviewed the proposal, the committee was able to decide that it met screening criteria and Annex D for chlorinated paraffins with carbon chain lengths of C14 and chlorination level at or exceeding 5% chlorine by weight. With regards to those carbon chain lengths in the range C15 to 17, the committee noted that information relating to the screening criteria on bioaccumulation was less certain, and decided that more detail on bioaccumulation data should be included in the draft risk profile. The committee established an intersessional working group to review the proposal and to prepare draft risk profile in accordance with Annex E. The information is invited until in March 2022. The last substance that was nominated for consideration was submitted by Canada, and yes, it is for long-chain perfluorocarboxylic acid, their salts, and related compounds. As you might be aware, that the Stockholm Convention already lists two sets of fluorinated substances, POSIT salts and PFOS-F, PFOA, its salts and PFOA-related substances. And the previous POPRC meeting, the committee recommended listing PFHXS, salts and PFHXS related compounds. And so this is the fourth set of fluorinated substances that came to the committee review process. At the 17th meeting, the committee decided that the proposal fulfilled the screening criteria in Annex D, and it established an intersessional working group to review the proposal further and prepare draft risk profile. Similar to all other substances, the information related to Annex E invited for submission by 14 March 2022. In addition to those chemicals proposed for listing, the committee undertakes work related to the chemicals that are already listed and tasked to it by the Conference of the Parties. First one relates to short-chain chlorinated paraffins and decabromodiphenyl ether. Substances were listed in Annex A to the convention at COP8 in 2017. And the COP decided to undertake a review process for the specific exemptions on DecaBD and short-chain chlorinated paraffins that included an assessment of information by the POPRC review committee. The committee had already developed a report at POPRC 16, which is forwarded for consideration at COP10, but at the same time, the committee identified information that may be helpful for further revising of the report. And therefore, at the 17th meeting, the committee agreed to provide certain set of information on DecaBD and short-chain chlorinated paraffin, established international working groups, further revise the report for submission to COP11 2023. So in this slide, it says this matter will be discussed at the face-to-face segment of COP10, but that will be the report that was already submitted by POPRC 16. Is set out in 17 and in 18. Okay, right. So this additional information on DecaBD and short-chain chlorinated paraffins should be submitted to the Secretariat by 15 March 2022. Another task that has for the committee to undertake relates to PFOS, its salts, and PFOS-F. There is a process for the evaluation of PFOS, its salts, and PFOS-F set out in decision S6/4, amended by S7/5. Substances are listed in Annex B to the Convention with acceptable purposes and specific exemption. And COP9 undertook the second evaluation based on the analysis by the committee and the Secretariat. And as a result, the COP amended the entries in acceptable purposes and specific exemptions for PFOS, itself, and PFOS-F, and decided further that the next evaluation will take place at COP11. And therefore, the committee agreed on the terms of reference for the undertaking the assessment of alternatives to those substances, and established an intersessional working group to undertake the activities as per the process provided in SC6/4. The information on PFOS is also invited for submission by 15 March 2022. Another work stream that the committee has relates to indicative list of substances covered by the listing of PFOA, its salts, and PFOA-related compounds. PFOA was listed in Annex A to the Convention at the 9th meeting of the Conference of Parties, and it just entered in force in December 2020. And in order to support countries implementing the Stockholm Convention for PFOA, it was decided that the indicative list is compiled by the Secretariat and made available online and revised or updated periodically, consultation with the POPRC review committee. So first draft was prepared for consideration at POPRC 16 and followed by that meeting. Further comments and information submitted by parties and observers, and that list was revised for consideration at the 17th meeting. Yes, so the number was POPRC 17/84. The document was reviewed by the committee, and further comments were provided during the meeting, and the Secretariat is currently revising that document based on the comments provided by party observers. The committee requested the Secretariat to make that list available on the website so that the party can make use of it for the Stockholm Convention. It also recommended that COP consider requesting the Secretariat, again in consultation with the committee, to further update that list, taking into account information, parties and observers, which means that the list considered a living document and could be periodically revised, taking into account received. Here is the final technical work considered by the POPs Review Committee at its 17th meeting. You have seen that UV 328 was nominated by Switzerland, listed under the Stockholm Convention. And during the consideration of that proposal, committee felt that it would be helpful to have further analysis on how the committee has taken decisions related to long-range environmental transport, that POPRC 16 established an intersessional working group to prepare draft guidance committee on its consideration of this criteria. The draft was prepared during the intersessional period as 15. However, the intersessional working group felt that the further work is required to complete the draft document, and therefore the committee decided that the work to continue, the intersessional working group would further develop that document. The committee also agreed that not to call that document as guidance, because it does provide the relation of experiences related to decision making on long-range environmental transport, but as the committee taking decisions on a case-by-case basis, it was felt more appropriate to call it draft document rather than guidance on long-range environmental transport. This is one development. However, the document that was submitted to POPRC 7 was not revised during the meeting. Further revised version would be prepared during the intersessional period between POPRC 17 and 18. Right. As a follow-up to POPRC 17, the meeting report is finalized. It will be available as document POPRC 17/13. And there were several sets of call for information and comments contained in the letter that was sent out on the 2nd of February 2022. The deadlines are like 14 and 15 March, it's the same. And we also understand that it was such a short period of time following POPRC 17 meeting that some countries might not be able to meet this deadline. But what is more important is to have as much information as possible made available to the committee. And therefore, if you haven't been able to collect this information, it's highly encouraged that you reach out to the Secretariat and submit the information as possible and as much as possible. To summarize the information related to Annex F, provided for Decloran Plus and UV 328, because those substances that are at the risk management evaluation stage. looking at the socioeconomic consideration. And 3 substances at the risk profile stage are chloropyrifos, chlorinated paraffins, and long-chain perfluorocarboxylic acid. For those substances, information in Annex E is provided. With regard to Declaran Plus, the committee also invited information on adverse effects because that was the point that was most discussed, and so the invitation for information included Annex E form for Declaran Plus, specifically provide adverse effects related information. Then with regard to the substances already listed under the Convention, information related to specific exemptions for decaBT and short-chain chlorinated paraffin and alternatives to PFOS salts and PFOS-F invited. For PFOS salts and PFOS-F, the Secretariat will be using information submitted by parties in national reporting, which is deadline 31st August 2022, and therefore all parties are highly encouraged to this deadline for submitting national reporting, because the COP at 2023 is going to look at both the reports prepared by the Committee on Alternatives to PFOS and the more generic evaluation of data's implementation on PFOS prepared by the Secretariat on the basis of the information from national reporting. So that is also very important for this process for evaluating PFOS. And then committee also noted the tentative dates and venue. Currently, we have tentative booking of the FAO headquarters in Rome. The date would be from 26 to 30 September 2022. And that will be back to back with DRC 18 meeting. But again, as you have seen in the previous 2 years, that dates and the modality and of the meetings might need to be reconsidered depending on the health situation and also the availability of the venue. Currently, those dates were announced and included in the work plans of those 9 intersessional working groups. All right, so that was my final slide. And if you have any questions